All right, we are recording.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Timothy Fowler. I'm the Professional Development Director with the New York State Network for Youth Success. As you arrive, please enter your first name, last name, and your email in the session. This is what we're going to be doing during our conference. It's how we're going to make sure that we give everyone credit. Everyone that participates in the conference starting Friday is going to get OCFS training hours. And that is going to be our record. That's the official sign-in for each. So we just wanted to model that today and make sure that we knew who was on the call with us. Why is my slide not advancing? There we go. This presentation is for presenters of our conference. It's virtually awesome. We were not having a virtual conference as of this time last week. So this is all very sudden for you, for us. It's our first time ever trying to do a virtual conference. And as everybody knows, there are extenuating circumstances for that. So this webinar is to help everyone get connected with Zoom and understand how it works. What we're going to do this morning, is we're going to talk about how you present in Zoom. So we'll look at some of the key features, some tips and tricks for shifting from an in-person session into a virtual session, how that works. We'll also talk about the support that we're going to provide to you during your presentation and what you can expect from us. We'll also review what we expect of you and also what we expect of participants so that that's clear. We're going to leave a nice chunk of time towards the end of the hour for people's specific questions, and then we'll close and do an evaluation. Our objectives for today: we want to familiarize you with what presenters can do and what they see in Zoom. We're going to model some techniques for engaging virtual presentations. So hopefully I will be doing a good job and showing you some different tips and techniques that you can use. We're also going to answer your questions and give you a chance to sort of feel this out so that you get what you need based on where you are in your work with virtual learning. And we're going to share lots and lots of additional resources. So the first link, Marcos, who is our moderator. Marcos, do you want to introduce yourself real quick before we get going?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Marcos Velasquez. I'm the capacity building Vista here at the network, and I'll be moderating this chat. And it's my first time moderating, and so hopefully we can see how it goes.
When you all are presenting during the conference, you will have at least one, if not two, moderators working with you. As Marcos said, this is his first time moderating. This is our first time doing this this way in this platform. So we're putting our best foot forward, but we're also going to take some notes, and we would love your feedback at the very end so that we make sure that we can make this the best conference possible. First, I want to say early and often, if you have any questions right off the top of your head, enter them in the chat. Marcos is going to be monitoring the chat, so if there are urgent questions, he'll break in and say, hold on, Timothy, we have an urgent question. Let's address that right now. Otherwise, as we get towards the end, when we have, we're going to block out about 15 minutes at the end of the presentation just for questions. That's when we can revisit the chat. Anything that people have asked along the way that we haven't already addressed, we'll take care of. So don't wait, put your questions in the chat, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. As you're thinking about your questions, we also want to ask you about your experience. So Marcos is going to open a poll, and we want you to respond and let us know what's your experience using Zoom as a presenter. So a poll is going to open up in just a moment, and when it does, we want you to respond and let us know what your experience is.
Okay. I guess this is our first problem here. I'm trying to open the poll, but it says I'm logged into another account, so I cannot open the poll.
Does that mean I can open the poll?
It means one
I
of
don't even
us
see
can.
the poll. Yep.
If somebody's logged into the account, the Zoom account.
I wonder if that's Allie. Oh, there it is.
That was me.
Okay.
It's Allie. Allie is the Uber moderator. So go ahead and answer the question. What concerns do you have about leading a virtual presentation? That's not the right one. The first poll is Zoom XP. So don't answer this poll yet. Zoom XP is the first poll that we want. It's actually the third poll on the list, Allie. Do you see it?
Yes, it's telling me it's up. Is it not up for you?
Nope.
I will try again.
There it is. So how much experience do you have using Zoom as a presenter? Thanks, Allie. You've never used it, you've used it once, you've used it several times to make presentations, or you've given so many of the presentations in Zoom. We'll give people a minute. Oh, look at that. Very fast results. So 70% of people responding have never used Zoom as a presenter. Well, you're in the right place today. We have 30% who have used it either several times or many times. My hope is that we will still give you value for the session today, that even if you've done this multiple times, that you're still gonna get some great ideas and tips and tricks. Marcos has already posted in the chat a link to Zoom's comprehensive guide to educating. If you follow that link, I encourage you to scroll down. It's actually got a table of contents. The resources section of that resource has lots of tips for presenters. The rest of it is really for teachers, educators, but it covers everything from the basics of how to use Zoom all the way up to advanced tips and tricks. So we're going to continue sharing resources like that all the way through, just so that even if you've done this many times, you've got the resources. And for those of you who are like, oh, that was a great session, but now I forgot everything Timothy said, you'll have resources that you can read through and use to improve your presentations. So let's head back to the slideshow. Thank you, by the way, for participating in our poll. We appreciate it. I want to talk a little bit about using Zoom as a presenter. So I'm going to exit from the slide presentation and I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what I see. So here we are. We're looking at my desktop and everything has changed, but all of the stuff along the top is my menu. Can everybody see that? That menu hides if you don't mouse over it. So there's a button where I can stop the share. I can see that we're recording right now, but these are my personal controls, mute and video. Everyone should see those. I'm gonna open the chat so I can see that over here. So that was over here to the right. There's a more button. It allows me to invite people to join the meeting, do the recording. You won't have to worry about most of that. Your moderator will take care of that for you. But the new share button is power that we are going to be giving to presenters. This is where you click, and when you do, it allows you certain options. It'll show you all of the things you have open on your screen. So if you have a PowerPoint like I did, it'll allow you to go straight into PowerPoint and do a slide presentation. If you're in this view right now, it'll just show everything that's on your desktop. So I can open my browser. If I wanted to go to a website and show, you know, here's our, let's do that. Let's go to the Network for Youth Success. So if I wanted to go to the Network for Youth Success and be like, hey, our website has great resources, I could walk you through those links right here and you could see what's going on. You can also share video and do lots of other things. So this is all relatively easy if you've done it before. So given that many of you have never ever done it before, we're gonna try to model during this session today what it looks like when it's done so that you can see what it's about. We're gonna encourage everybody to show up about 10 minutes ahead of time to log in and work with the moderator to make sure that all of these things are working correctly. But then we can also go into that. We're also gonna offer some bonus support, and I'll talk about that later at the end. The main features though, you can see I've got videos, so I can see everybody who's participating. Hi Trudy, hi Kelly, hi Aaron, hi Natalie, hi Arlene. And if I mouse over, I can see a bunch of other people are hiding. They're not even showing their video. Dun, dun, dun. That's fine for today, but we are going to put the expectation on all of our participants that they have their video on. And we recommend that if you're presenting, you also have your video on, because it's nice to be able to have a face-to-face interaction with people. Right now I'm looking directly at my camera, so it looks like I'm making eye contact with you. So that's one way that we can try to make this a little more human. So think about that, what you need to do in order to use the video. Again, if you have any questions about anything that you see up here, pop it up in the chat. I see Nancy has asked a question, so we'll use our own PowerPoints and share our screen when we present. That is our hope, yes. If what we would say is it might be great if you shared your PowerPoint, your handouts, and everything else with us ahead of time. We've started a Google Drive where we're keeping all of this information so we can share it with participants. But in case there's a technical problem, if we have a copy of your PowerPoint, we can share it and we can lead it. But what we will probably do is turn presenter control over to you while we host, so that you will have direct control over all of these things and you'll be able to move around. Again, that's up to you. If you're not comfortable with that and you want the moderator to help you, we're ready to work with you. Just bear in mind, so this is Marco's first time moderating. I have moderated meetings before, but most of the rest of our team is taking roles with moderating, and they're all on this call right now because we're all learning as we do this. So just be patient and forgiving with us, as we hope that all of our participants are going to be patient and forgiving with all of us as we try to do a virtual conference for the first time. Keep putting your questions. I see Arlene has asked, can the resource please be emailed to us? Yes, we can do that. We will be sharing a whole bunch of things. There's a link to the shared drive for presenters, so if you want to start uploading your stuff, thank you very much for posting that. I'm going to head back to, so I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint. And this is a technique that I encourage people to use, to switch from one way to another just to keep people's interest up. So new share, I'm going back to presenting, and then it opens PowerPoint as a, it's what I see when I'm doing a presentation, like preparing a presentation, and then I have to click slideshow, and then it makes it into a slide presentation. Does everybody see that? So now we're looking at the slide again. If you nod, I can see that you're nodding. Natalie, you look concerned. Oh, I got a thumbs up from somebody. Okay, we're moving on then. I'm curious, and I would love to hear your responses in the chat. What has your worst experience been in ever using virtual learning? So webinars, online classes, distance learning, using Zoom. What's your absolute worst experience been? We'd love to hear about it in the chat. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about that and enter it in the chat feature. We're already starting to see some responses. Keep typing. We're going to give everybody a minute just to enter their information. So Natalie has made a great point. Keeping attention on the content is a huge challenge in this. So not only does your mind wander, but we may be competing with everything that's normally on your laptop. So people's emails, their phone might be right there. You might have other work open. Somebody might walk in and start talking to you as if you're not in a session right now. So there's plenty of distractions that we're gonna have to deal with. Nancy talks about the presentations not being engaging. This is a huge issue. We're hopefully going to give you some tips and tricks today. We want to make sure that your in-person presentation becomes an engaging virtual presentation. Being late because of tech issues, we're going to encourage everyone to join early. And we're expecting problems probably the first sessions of the day, but as things go on, we are hoping that people will iron those out. Zoom is relatively easy to use, but they do have to download some materials to make sure it works effectively. I see Change Impact saying that it's not that scary, mostly good experience. Well, that's good to hear. Telling jokes and not hearing laughter is definitely a problem. I'm very fortunate to be within earshot of my boss's office. So if I wink at the camera or say something funny, I can hear her laugh in the other one. I'm like, okay, good job, Timothy, you did well. But yeah, that's a problem. You get very little feedback. We're going to encourage people to try to use the video, but then that can be distracting for the presenters. But how you get that feedback from people is one of the challenges we're going to try to address today. And I see Arlene had that same challenge. And then Myra talks about having the network or audio cut out. Huge issue, huge issue. So as much as possible, we're going to try to make that easy, but this is new ground for a lot of us. You may have seen in the news where a lot of people are concerned if so many people are working at home and they're not on enterprise systems at work or in schools, is that going to affect the infrastructure for bandwidth, or ISP is going to be able to actually provide all of this? So we're expecting to have some technical problems, but your moderator is going to be there if they're individual to help them through it. We are going to be providing a lot of information via our shared drive. So even if people don't get the full thing or they duck out for a minute because their connection blanked out, we're hopefully still going to give them value and content. And if unfortunately one of us dodges out, we're going to deal with that as best we can. But you will have moderators there to help you, and we'll get through this together. Keep sharing your challenges and also certainly share your questions. Sabrina mentions having long stretches of dead air while trying to answer questions. This is actually something we're encouraging you to get comfortable with. So one of our tips that I'll share later is when you ask a question or try to get a response from people, you're going to have to wait much, much longer than normal, because your extroverts in the group, if you're doing an in-person training, you're not going to have those 3 people who immediately raise their hand and start sharing off the top of their head, because they're not necessarily in their comfort zone. So you have to give people more time to actually stop and think and reflect, and then use the technology to answer. But it is disconcerting. You say something and nobody does anything. Nobody raises their hand, nobody chats. So that's normal, just be ready for that. Keep your questions coming, keep your concerns coming as well, because we want to make sure that we address it and get you as comfortable as we can. So some tips for adjusting from an in-person session to a virtual session. Plan your timing. I have an agenda that's detailed, and I blocked out how much time to spend on each slide and each topic so that I stay on point. I don't normally go minute by minute when I do an in-person, but it's really helpful here, especially since I'm working with a moderator and I may want them to help me do polls or do other things at certain key points. So planning that timing is very, very important. The other thing is with that timing to add frequent interaction. So using polls, asking people for chats. Later, we're going to do a breakout. We're going to do some just using the video features just to talk to each other. So changing it up from a slide to those kinds of interactions needs to be planned ahead of time. Compelling, clear visuals. I am not the best at compelling visuals in a slideshow. I did my best, but I tend to have words and bullets. So I'm not necessarily the best model here, but think about what you want people to see, whether it's you and your animated face, you're doing a dance, whatever, you've got a video, you've got web. Think about what they're going to be looking at, because as was mentioned earlier, our attention wants to wander. We're also asking you to share links and resources ahead of time. So Marcos has he has 5 resources related to virtual training that he's going to share throughout. So Marcos, if you want to put up the one from Beth's blog, the one that is facilitating virtual meetings, these are things that I had to get to him ahead of time, but I'm thinking about other ways to engage my audience. If I share a link to a resource, even if people go off and follow that link in their browser, they're still on point. They're reviewing the content, they're looking at the handout. That's just what I want them to do. As I mentioned earlier, that was brought up as a concern, you gotta give people time to respond. So if you ask a question, typically in an in-person group, I will count to 6 or even to 12. And in a session like this, you may have to wait 30, 45, 60 seconds before moving on, just because people are thinking, they're struggling with the technology, they're trying to find their chat box, they're on mute, and they want to, so you have to give them a little extra time. They're just as uncomfortable, but if you give them that time, it gives them time to think and to respond. So be ready for that. The other thing is you want to move around. The tendency with many of these presentations is for people to sit and just sit in front of their screen and stare at the camera and maybe move the mouse a little bit. And we're encouraging you to think of ways to get people up and moving, because if you're doing a 90-minute presentation, that is a long time to be sitting. And if people are doing multiple sessions in a day, that's a long time to be sitting. And the more they sit, the harder it is for them to focus. So we're going to model that right now. We're going to do a little interaction and movement. So first, I would like people to discover the raise hand feature. So if you look where you find your mute and stop video buttons, they may be at the top or at the bottom of your screen. You should also see that there is a place where you can raise your hand. It may be under the More button. Marcos, can you confirm that? Is it under the More button where they find, or is it, oh, is it under Participants? Because I can't see it because of the way that I'm sharing right now. Yes, so if you have the Participants tab open, you can see all of the people that are participating, and there's a place where you can raise your hand. You can say yes, you can say no, go slower, go faster. So raise your hand to let me know that you're paying attention. Thank you, Myra. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Arlene. Thank you, Trudy. Just looking to see who else is on point with us. If you're having trouble, just let us know in the chat. The reason we're doing this right now is so that we get comfortable with these features. They're not easy to find. You have to poke around a little bit. So I'm still waiting for Allie for Change Impact. Hi, Nancy. Thank you. Just want to make sure that everybody knows where these features are. This is also something the moderators are going to be looking at during your session. So during these interactions, are there people who are consistently not participating? Because if they're not, if we can't prove that they are actually there in your session learning with you, they may not get credit, which means they won't get clock hours. So being able to do this is super helpful. You are not going to have to worry about that other than just making sure that everybody's with you, that they haven't done anything. You'll also know if you click on the More button or mouse over where it says More on that same line with raise hand, there's a little clock. And if you click the clock, it means you're away. So if you have to step out for something, if there is business that is taking you away, your participants can use that and just let you know, I'm still here, but I just can't be here. Kelly's she needs a break. So Kelly's getting a cup of coffee. I see you in your video, Kelly. You're not fooling anybody. You can go ahead and put your hands down. Marcos, is there a way that you can make everybody's hands go down? I know that that's something that some of these do. We haven't tried that feature yet. So thanks everybody for playing along with the hand feature. What I'm going to ask you to do next is answer this next poll. So this is the poll that Allie showed us earlier, the concerned poll. When the poll starts, I'm also going to ask you to complete it and then get up and refresh your beverage. We've been doing quite a bit of work today, and I need you to make sure that you're hydrated. So answer the poll, get up, refresh your beverage, and then come back in 2 minutes. So answer the poll, and then I'm going to start 2 minutes on my personal timer. So just take a moment, stand up, stretch, get some more water, coffee, tea, energy drink, whatever you need, and we'll see you in 2 minutes. You can check all that apply, by the way. You can have more than one answer. A minute and a half, get up, walk around. All right, as people come back, please let us know that you're back and ready to go by raising your hand so that we know that you're here, you're present, you're ready, charged up. The Beth's blog resource that I shared earlier, Beth Kantner, by the way, amazing trainer facilitator. Her blog is fantastic. I encourage all of you to subscribe to it. Recommends a lot of movement and offers different techniques that you can use during in-person and virtual meetings in order to encourage movement, because the research shows that if you move and learn, your brain is activated in a much different and better way than if you're just sitting for long periods of time. So the movement actually helps people stay focused and stay tuned in to what you're offering. Looks like we have a couple more people who haven't quite made it back. Once you get back, please raise your hand to let me know you're here and ready to go. I can see some people on their videos, but others have their video off. So that's another option. If everyone has their video on, you can just look and see who's here ready to go. You can literally wave and raise your hand and do whatever you need to do, but we're using virtual hand raising. Either technique is great. Looks like we've got just about everybody back, so thank you. Here's the results of our poll. So a lot of people like seeing participants in person. This is a huge issue. So if I'm not in the room with people, I'm not able to use my actual people skills as easily, which is part of the reason why we're encouraging video, so that we can look at people, especially if we're doing chat and people are talking. Having never led a virtual event before, just the change and like just something different and new can be really weird and off-putting. Looks like we also have a significant group that are concerned about getting participant engagement. That's definitely a concern. And then obviously you've never used it as a presenter, so what am I even doing? I would be concerned. And I think that was me that said I had everything prepared and now it's like starting over. So tomorrow I will be leading our credential class. I'll be talking about project-based learning, and it's going to be all virtual, and I have no idea how that's going to work yet. So you're not the only ones. This is a big deal, and it could be the new normal for at least the next few weeks. So we're all in the same boat, and that's why we're committed here to try to help you deal with these issues. So thank you for participating in the poll. Thank you for getting up and moving around a little bit. What I would like to share with you now is what we're going to do to support you. So some of the things you can expect from us as the moderator. So this is the support Marcos is offering me right now and support that we're going to offer you. We're going to help you set up. We're also going to introduce the session, so we will get things started. We have some slides that we'll share about who may be sponsoring that session or that room, as well as just some technical details like making sure everybody signs in and is using their video. If there are any technical issues with participants, we will troubleshoot that. If you are having technical issues, we hope that you will join us early enough, 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time, so that we can troubleshoot with you before any participants arrive. But you just worry about your presentation, we'll worry about the participants. We will also share on your behalf anything going on in the chat. So if you have things that you want people to look at, anything that you want them to see or have available, share that with us ahead of time, and we will make sure that we add that and copy and paste it into the chat for you. So that's one less thing you have to worry about. The other big thing that the moderator will do for you is serve as timekeeper. So all the moderators are going to track what the halfway point is, when you have 15 minutes left, 5 minutes left, and we will text you privately in the chat. So we encourage you, of course, to keep track of your own time and make sure that you know where all of those places are. The one thing that your moderator will also do for you is end your session. So if you come up against the very last minute of your session, your moderator will end it. There will be no overtime. So making sure that you have everything prepared and you can cover everything within your time slot, whether that's 30 or 90 minutes, is going to be critical. Your moderator is going to help you. If you need a different way of communicating, it's hard for me right now to keep track of the chat. I have to open it as a separate window, but I'm going to try to do it right now anyway. But you know, for some presenters, that's way too much. But if I'm concerned about where my time is, I just open the chat, and Marcos has already told me we're at the halfway point. So if I think about it and look in the chat, I'll already have that message and I'll know where we are. But you might want us to text you. You might want us to do something else, you know, give you the high sign, whatever, we'll work with you. but we are going to make sure to give you warnings so that you know when we're coming up. Little post-it note, nice, Marcos. So we will work with you to help you stay on track and stay on time. But we must end things on time because another session is coming shortly after yours, and we don't want to neglect that session. There's going to be bonus support, as if that wasn't enough. I'm going to have office hours tomorrow. So from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., if any of you who have never used Zoom before, that you experienced users want to sharpen your game, you want some feedback, I'm available to you. Let me know. You can email me, timothy@networkforyouthsuccess.org. I will block out a time between 9 and 3 to work with you for 30 minutes. We can go through this. You can try out the presenter mode if you want to see what it feels like. We'll do some of these different things. Whatever you need in order to sharpen your presentation and feel confident about moving forward, we will provide to you. So this is in addition to having a moderator with you during your session. This is to help you feel confident in your presentation. So you can email me. I'll help you practice. I'll give you feedback on your presentation and your ideas and answer any additional questions that may have come up between now and then. Now we're going to do a breakout. This is another feature of Zoom, and this is where I think the video part really makes it a wonderful platform to use. So we're going to send you into breakout rooms. So we're going to have rooms of 4. So Allie, I don't know if you're going to need to do this or if Marcos is going to be able to do this. Marcos, are you able to get to it? You're on mute, so I can't hear what you're saying.
It looks like I can.
Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do in your breakout groups, we're going to assign groups of 4 people each. So have your video on and open so that you can talk to each other. We'll unmute everybody, make sure that you've unmuted yourself as well. And what we want you to talk about with each other is, what do you need for your Zoom presentation? So if you're going to put your best foot forward and turn your in-person into a virtual, what are the things you're thinking about? Could be concerns, it could be next steps, but talk that out with your colleagues who are also trainers, who are also going to be working on this, and share some ideas with each other, as well as encouragement, as well as support. We're going to give you 8 minutes to do this. And during those 8 minutes, we just want to make sure that everybody in your small group gets a chance to share. So that's about 2 minutes each, no more. We'll let you know when there's halfway, when we're 4 minutes through. And then we will close it after 8 minutes. So be ready for that. After 8 minutes, suddenly we'll all be back in the big group. Okay?
Hi, who's there right now?
Since I haven't done that before. So I have a bit of work to do now that we have gotten schools closed. Baskell has remained open for childcare as we changed our plan from 10 o'clock to 10:05 yesterday when the rest.
Make sure each person gets 1 to 2 minutes to talk about what they need. Okay.
Marcos, did you just get in here as the moderator?
Yeah, I'm just bouncing around checking. You can
How do
join
you
and
do
enter.
that?
Well, for the breakout rooms, you can, I have the option to join and exit breakout rooms. So I created these rooms and then I can go in between them.
So I have a question, Marcos. So
Mhm.
in my presentation that was, supposed to be face-to-face, I did have a number of breakout activities. keep things lively and such.
Mhm.
So whoever the moderator would be then would create these breakout sessions for me. I just have to keep my small group activities the same. There's no change there.
Yeah, so I can create breakout rooms depending on how many people you want per room. Like today, I think we have 11 people in this presentation. So I created 3 rooms with 3 and 4 people for each rooms. So I can do that for any presentation, and it can be if you want people together that have common interests, you can assign them, or you can do it automatically, and then it'll just be random. But you can do it specifically or randomly.
Okay, so I'm doing it, or a moderator will be there to break out for me.
A moderator can do that, yes.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Okay. So that's really good because, I did have some breakout sessions, and so, it's nice that we can still use that, and then I don't have to come up with something else. That's terrific. Thank you. Does anybody else have any other concerns?
I feel like my concerns are more general than specific.
Well, that's all right. Share.
Well, I think I'm just more used to talking to groups in person, so it feels like I would need to sort of just thinking about the time to practice this virtually. I'm so used to sort of just being in a space and moving around a space, and then like having an eye on the clock. So just thinking through like, what do I need to have with me, around the computer, to be able to sort of deliver this virtually and that type of thing.
That definitely makes sense. I'm hopeful that our
training was about like after school meals and CACFP and that sort of thing. So it's very much information heavy. Yeah. And so, well, like everyone else, but still. So I'm still, I guess, trying to figure out how to, like, obviously digitally get those resources out to my participants. So, and also I've never used Zoom platform before. So I guess it's just getting comfortable with that. Especially being a first-time presenter as well. So a lot of things on top of each other.
Yeah, this is a baptism by fire, right? Oh, hey, go ahead and present. It'll be fine. Oh, no, now I got to do it virtually. We can share links. So if you want links back to your website, or if there's a digital home for your stuff, we can also put handouts in the Google Drive that participants will be able to access. And I believe you can also share a document through the chat, although we haven't tried that yet, but you basically upload the document into chat and then people can download it through the chat. So there's a couple of different ways. So the first thing I would say is make sure you're clear on what you want to share and then how you want to share it. I have found links are the best way because you can just put a whole bunch of links in a document and then we can copy and paste them into chat. So then they have them after the fact, but also during. It can send people away from your presentation, but sometimes that's a great thing to do. Give them a chance to change their focus for a minute, look over your handout, because then they might bring more questions back and say, oh, I see on the handout it says this and this, or can I ask you about this resource?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Tom, are you with us? I see that you're on mute. No, you're not. Hi, Tom. Tom, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't had to be honest, I haven't had a whole lot of time to think about it, given everything that's going on right now. But I do like the idea of pulling together some polls, and, that's great if you're able to help us in sort of organizing those and having them pop up when we need to, and all of that. But I haven't, like I said, I haven't given it a ton of thought yet.
Yeah, and that's totally understandable. There's a lot going on right now, and that's why we wanted to at least, give you the chance to think about it. These breakout rooms are another way that you can think about adding to your presentation. So one of the features you can do that I'm not modeling right now is the moderator or the presenter can leave one room and go visit another. So you'll be able to have people break out into rooms, and then you can go check in on the rooms as you want to. So this is like doing small group work. So chats are great, polls are great, but thinking about how you might use this breakout. You can also determine whether you want a certain number of groups or a certain size group. So Mark,
you're sharing, or you can do share screen and then change to that document and just show the PDF or whatever type of file it is.
Okay.
But if you're referencing specifically in there, I would do that too, so that they don't have to switch back and forth, but they can definitely have access to everything that we put in the Google Drive.
Okay, great. So that share screen might be my option. I don't know how to do that. That might be my option.
Yeah, because you can run from PowerPoint. You can then go to another things. When you hit the share button, it has you pick a file. So you can either pick a file type or you can hit desktop, the way that Timothy showed his.
Yeah, I couldn't follow where he was.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I can pick a file.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hi, Marcos.
Hi. I'm just
Marcos.
bopping around from each room.
Great.
Yeah, so and some other questions people had, it was just what like the moderator would be doing, but so we can create these rooms for you and they can be automatically assigned randomly, or you can go in and individually assign people if you want certain people from the same groups together.
We don't have any sense of how many people will show up. Right? Didn't have to. Once the new schedule went out, people didn't have to say, yeah, I'm probably going to go this one or that one. It's just good luck and open it up.
People did not have to register for which one they wanted, and we're opening it up. So the folks that registered for Friday are supposed to be on Friday. The folks that registered for Saturday and then the 2-day it's a little bit more of an honor system. It's going to be very difficult for us to go through the list and then kick people out if they come in for the wrong day. But we've had more people registering that can do it now virtually or have free time in their schedule without other things going on. And the presenters as well that are open to come. So my understanding is, again, the max, like if absolutely everybody went to every session, we could have 175 people, but I would be incredibly surprised if that happened. I think that folks are going to pick and choose the sessions that they want to go to. And we'll really have just the people that are really interested in your topic that are participating at that time.
So that might be 3.
Even if it's a small group, that can be really useful, right?
I'm excited. Yeah,
I'm gonna say if like myself and Trudy and Marcos joined your session right now, this could be really, really good. And we have the recording as well, so other folks might be jumping on to watch the recording later and learn from it.
Sure.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, but I have to close the chat rooms right now. I just got the word from Timothy. So, goodbye.
We have said in some situations yes, and in some situations no. I'm not sure what we're going to do with the recorded sessions afterwards, but typically anytime we do something online, we do record it. It's just we're not going to make these widely available to the public. So I'm not sure that that's something we're going to do or not. So I encourage you, as much as possible, have your handouts ready Anything that you want people to walk away from as if it was, an in-person session, have those digitally or have links that we can make sure that they have or that we can share in the drive. Hi, everybody. If you're coming back, we're just going to give another second or two for everybody to come back. It looks like we're all back in the room. How was that for people? Give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down in your participant feature. You liked it, you didn't like it. Under the More button for participants, there's a thumbs up and thumbs down. Did you like the breakout rooms? I'm seeing a thumbs up. Thank you, Network for Youth Success. You're so supportive. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Trudy. You can put a thumbs down too if you're like, that was weird, that was so awkward. You can give me a thumbs down, it's okay. Again, these are different ways that you can get your audience to interact. So I just want you to see all the different features and how they look. While I'm asking these questions, I'm scrolling through the participant list to see who's with us. I see more and more thumbs up. Thank you, everybody. It does take a second. I told you, you got to count 30 seconds, 60 seconds to give people a chance to find things, to be able to use them, to think, do I agree or disagree? So thank you for doing that. I'm going to go back to my slide presentation now because I have lost the capacity for rational thought. I have to use the PowerPoint to remember what I'm going to say and do at any given moment. So I want to show you a couple of things now that we've talked about what you might prepare. I just want to show you briefly some things that I prepared. So I'm going to share my screen with everybody. One thing that I did was I made a detailed agenda. So the first thing I did, I'm scrolling down past my notes. I just started writing down some features and things that I was going to do. This is in Evernote where I keep all my notes. And then I was like, man, there's so much to do. So I started writing down questions I had for people. I started gathering resources. I made a task list for myself. Oh, I finished that. And then I went back and shoved all that to the bottom of my note and started to really craft the agenda. I printed this, I shared it with Marcos so that he could tell me, because we were also figuring out like, what's the moderator even gonna do? But then I took this and I started adding times. So right about now is when I would like to switch to Q&A, but before we do, I do wanna talk about what we expect from you all. But I just wanted to show you that I went through the resources, I gathered those, I used them, to make sure I knew what there was there, but then I made a much more detailed agenda than I might normally for my session. Now, if you typically for an in-person workshop do this kind of detailed agenda, you're in great shape. The only thing that you'll want to add is the times and make sure that you're really clear on what those times are. So what we expect from you. We want you to share your materials ahead of time. So any polls, any links, any handouts, we would love to have them. They're going to be in the shared drive that the Google Drive that Marcos sent a link to in the chat earlier. Marcos, if you can add that again, just so it's there in the chat. We want you to test your equipment. So many of you are doing that right now. Great. You notice that Marcos and I are both wearing headsets. They're great for noise canceling and to really isolate you so that your voice is clear. You want to be someplace quiet with no background noise and good lighting. We tried doing backgrounds. You may see some people on Zoom, they have like fancy backgrounds. Our setup did not really like it. So I'm just sitting in front of the wall. I'm at my desk. The one thing I did do is I put my laptop up on a box. So it's sitting on an office banker's box, just so that the camera is now looking down at me as opposed to me being up looking down at the camera. So it's a very slight thing, but it makes a big difference, I think, in terms of making me very visible and looking at like we're having a face-to-face conversation. We want you to arrive at least 10 minutes before the start so we have time to troubleshoot, make sure that we're clear, that the tech is working, we can hear you, give permissions as we need to. And we just want you to be your usual awesome self. You are selected to be a presenter at this conference because you've already got the goods. You've got great content. Many of you are seasoned presenters. You have done this before. This platform may be new, but you know how to reach an audience and you know how to share things. That's why you were chosen to be at this conference. So the rest is just details. We'll work it out, but that's what we expect from you. I want to briefly tell you what we expect of participants. And Kelly and Aaron, if you want to jump in on this and let me know any other expectations you have, I would appreciate it. We want them to arrive on time, so they should arrive just prior to the meeting, maybe 5 to 10 minutes early. They will have to sign in, as we asked you to do, their first name, last name, and email, and that's how we're tracking their attendance. We expect them to be focused and present and participate in all of the activities that you do. Your moderators will be keeping track of participation. So you only need to worry about that in terms of, are you getting feedback? You know, are people, you know, responding to you? Are you getting what you need as a presenter to feel like people are listening? We will keep track with, are people actually in the session? Does it look like they've left the room? We will take care of all of that. You just have to focus on your presentation, but we're gonna lay this out for all the participants that if they're gonna show up for the 90-minute session, they need to pay attention for the 90-minute session. Aaron or Kelly, anything that you wanna add on this? Participant expectations?
I was just kind of checking our checklist, and I guess one thing for presenters to just know is that we will be monitoring the participants. And I know you said it already, but like, I just want to reiterate. So we will be checking and taking screenshots of the faces to make sure that we can match it up with the attendance list afterwards. And that is not something that you guys have to worry about. And we'll also kind of be watching any of the chats, the polls, to make sure people are participating. You got anything else? Nope.
Thank you.
I think you covered it.
Before we open it up for Q&A, we got to do a commercial. So we want to shout out to all of the sponsors, Prevent Child Abuse New York State 4-H Cornell Cooperative Extension, Pioneer Bank, Change Impact, Early Care and Learning Council, and a special thank you to the Buffalo Police Athletic League. In addition, we have a lot of vendors who obviously will not be in-person vending, but we are going to have slides like you just saw at every presentation. Some of the sponsors have sponsored rooms, so they may be your presentation sponsor, but we're also going to be featuring all of these vendors to try to give them a chance to connect with our participants, which is why they, you know, wanted to be at our conference anyway. So just wanted you all to see that and to recognize all these organizations that were supporting our work. Before we go to Q&A, I want to acknowledge some thought leaders who helped prepare this. I mentioned Beth Kantner and Beth's blog. Cindy Huggett is a trainer and an author who literally wrote the book on virtual learning and virtual training. So there's a link here for her. Perrin Chick and Sue Allen at the Maine Math and Science Alliance have been doing virtual coaching and virtual training for the last several years through some funding from the Mott Foundation, and they're awesome. And they and Heidi Ham at the National After School Association shared a lot of resources with us over the last 5 days that helped us feel like we can do this and we can make this happen. I also want to acknowledge all of these thought leaders are women. It's Women's History Month, and there are a lot of people working behind the scenes with a ton of intelligence, a ton of passion for their work, and they don't get enough credit. So I just wanted to give shout outs to all of these folks so that you can go and learn more about them and maybe get some other resources. Marcos, if you would paste the, there's one item from Sue Allen about virtual learning. If you would add that, and then the developmental, I think like the third link in my list of 5. Add that to the chat. But we want to take some time now and just open it up. What are the questions that you all still have, things that you would like to have answered? And now I'm going to lean on Marcos to show me, whoops, back up. What's come up in the chat that we need to talk about? I can't see the chat for some reason. Oh, there it is. What questions do people have? How will we be able to access the chat links once we finish the webcast? Natalie, you can't. Great question. So the chat links are during, which is why it's going to be important if you have any resources or links that you also have those included in your handout materials. So at the end of this presentation, I have a slide with all of those resources and the live links. I'm going to save this as a PDF and I'm going to put it in the Google Drive. It'll be called virtual presentation or something like that. I'll put the date on it so people can find it. But that's how you will be able to access those links afterwards. Otherwise, you wouldn't. Once the chat is closed, we will save it, but it's not going to be made publicly available, and it's not something that can necessarily be quickly accessed. So any links that you want to have, we encourage you to, if you use PowerPoint, you can save it as a PDF file, which means nobody can change or alter your slides or use your images, but all of the links will be live. So people can review the slides and click on any links as resources. So that is my recommendation as part of your preparation. Submit your PowerPoint, save it into our Google Drive with live links. Marcos, are there any other questions that we missed? Marcos, I can't hear you. Are you muted? Yes, you are.
All right. Wow. Sorry about that. But yeah, I looked through all the chats, and it looks like most of the questions were either answered in the chat or by you, Timothy. If I missed anybody, my apologies. And if you would, or still in need of an answer, just write your question again.
Nancy was asking about breakout rooms and how we visit them. So you were able to visit different breakout rooms, is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that permission, so is that permission that we can give presenters somehow?
It should be for the host and the co-host. They should be able to bump around between breakout rooms.
So we'll just have to make sure as we start each of our presentations that you as presenters have co-host and host privileges. And I think that's something we can do at the back end. So we'll confirm that and make sure that that's happening.
Thank you.
There's two other resources that we haven't mentioned, and I'm just scrolling back to the top, Marcos, so that you can add them in. You've already shared the Zoom one. There's another one.
I'll just go ahead and share all of them.
Yeah, go ahead and share all of them.
Now.
That's the easiest thing to do. Thank you. Other questions, you can either unmute yourself and talk to us directly, or you can enter it in the chat. So if we can unmute everybody so that we can do that. Other questions in chat or via microphone? Live questions using your voice. This is that awkward silence that was mentioned earlier. It's so thick, isn't it? Oh my goodness. But this is part of the deal. We want to give you time to think and to ask your questions.
I think I need a little time to poke around now in it before I have any more questions, but it's been helpful so far. I've already sent you an email for tomorrow, but.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I need to poke around now.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, and that's, so these resources that Marcos has just shared is for just such an occasion. So we encourage you to click on those now, open them in your browser, review them. They're all very brief. The Zoom one, the comprehensive guide, is the longest, but it has a table of contents, so you can very quickly jump around and see what you need to see. But these are all by people who have lots of experience doing virtual events, and they have some great resources. We did curate this list. We've been combing through dozens of resources, and these are the ones that we thought were the most applicable just to what we're trying to accomplish. And again, all of this will be available in the Google Drive. I will save this as a PDF and name it virtual presentation with today's date, so you'll be able to find it easily. I'm looking to see if anybody's raised their hand for a question. Anything else that people want to add, you can enter it in the chat or you can just ask us directly.
I think this was super helpful, especially modeling the breakout rooms. And also, I really like how you mentioned, you know, you kept asking us to put our hands up, and then it was tricky to find and tricky to find again. So it was really helpful for you to actually talk through how to find that feature again. So I think that that's really going to be key for presenters. It's just to keep going over some of the same things. And that's good, because then people are paying attention, or you're snapping them back, or it's a good engagement strategy. So this has been great. Thank you.
Great. And I appreciate that. And that was my idea. Like, it's one thing for somebody to talk you through it. It's another thing to actually do it and live it.
Yeah.
And now your moderators who are on this call have also seen it and done it. So we're going to be better prepared to go and help you. I'm going to be a moderator. You see Trudy, Aaron, Kelly, and Marcos. We're all going to be moderators. This is all new to us too. We're all a little nervous about tech problems. We're like, oh my God, what kind of tech problems are we going to have to troubleshoot? But now that we've all had this experience, at least we know what's possible. And we'll take up as much of that as we can. So if people are struggling to find the raise hand, we will be going, hey, here's where it is. We'll show you how to do it. So we're in this together, but thank you. Any other questions?
Do you have a sense of the attendance of people?
I think it's still up in the air. Aaron, do you have any solid numbers or a sense?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I put together a list of the registration yesterday, and I would imagine, okay, so the max number is like 180. That being said, I would imagine since that we have opened up other sessions that not everyone is going to attend all sessions, and that number is Friday and Saturday combined. So, I mean, I don't know enough about this to make an educated guess, but the max would be 180, and I don't see that many people attending. I'm thinking that people will choose, you know, to do an hour and a half, then take a break for a little bit and come back, or take advantage of the ones in the following weeks, which is why we kind of added those extra sessions to lighten the load a little bit.
So you potentially will have a much larger group than you would have in person. So I would keep that in mind. Breakout sessions may be a very easy way to give everybody a chance to talk to each other, but we're definitely going to have everyone muted as they join. Because that's potentially a huge number of people all talking at the same time or with all that background noise. But we'll see. Great question. Thank you.
That's a great turnout. Congratulations.
Last interaction, if people in the chat box could just let us know, what are your key takeaways? What are some of the things that you're thinking now or aware of now that you weren't before? We'll give you a minute to do that, and then we'll open our closing poll. So what are your key takeaways? Let us know in the chat, or you can talk to us via video if you just want to share out loud.
If we can just share out loud, I'm going to do that.
Go for it.
Like half typed in. I definitely feel much more comfortable with the engagement tools and utilizing them, where to find them, and then how often to utilize them. I don't think I necessarily would have used them as much as you were modeling, so I thought that that was great. So thank you for that. And just being able to, like, I've used Zoom, I've been on the other end of it, but not running a presentation through there, and especially a hands-on interactive workshop as ours was going to be, and how to actually make that the same experience or a similar experience. And I'm feeling much more confident after going through this. So nicely done. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Other takeaways? I see people are typing in the box. Anyone else want to just share out loud? I see my boss, Kelly, giving me a shout out saying I'm a natural virtual instructor. I wish I could take credit for that, but I actually practiced a lot. All the people I gave shout outs to, Cindy Huggett, Beth Gantner, I learned a lot from them, their webinars and their posts about what it takes to do this well. So I give them credit, but it's not natural. And it's not that hard. If you can get in front of a person, even one-on-one, and talk to them about what's important to you, you can do this.
Well, we want to thank you and commend you for doing such an amazing job and making it look so easy, even though we know it's, you know, it's going to be a lift for some of us, but we definitely appreciate it.
You can do it. Thank you. I see Natalie has said she wasn't aware of the options, so now you know what's possible. So great. That was definitely something we hoped you would get. People are feeling comfortable with the engagement tools, as Nancy said. Grateful for learning the features. Definitely let me know if you want to poke around with them and try them on where you can control them. That's what the time tomorrow is for. So email me, timothy@networkforyouthsuccess.org. Myra says the breakout group function was interesting. I agree. Even if you have a large group, if you can just have 3 or 4 people where you can just see their videos. One thing I don't know if you noticed, but in the video breakout room, You can hide the videos. You can show a small active speaker. You can show a thumbnail video, or there's like a Brady Bunch 9-box outlet, and then you can see a whole bunch of people at the same time. And that's really great in the breakout feature, because then you can look at all the other people that you're talking to at the same time. So that's something to play with too, so that you can see multiple videos all at the same time. So it's something else to adjust. Finally, we want to make sure that you're following us on social media. So our Facebook page has lots of activity ideas every day. If you have activities from your organization you'd love to share with us, we would love to feature you. You can also follow us on Twitter. Sign up for our listservs. If you're not already doing that, you can go to the networkforyouthsuccess.org to do that. And then email me again, timothy@networkforyouthsuccess.org, if you're interested in one of these 30-minute sessions tomorrow as a breakout. Can we do the final poll? I'm going to leave this slide up for people who are viewing this after the fact, just so they can see some of the different things we featured. But we're ready for the closing poll, just to do a final evaluation. This is the same type of poll that all presentations will get at the end. So Allie, whenever you're ready to share that poll with us, the closing poll.
I think Allie, okay. I think Allie is on a call right now, but
okay,
for some reason I can share it now. So
awesome.
Share it.
Go Marcos, go Marcos. Again, this is the same poll that we will be doing, just 2 very simple questions rated on 1 to 5, 5 being best. And then we're asking people to tell us what they thought about the presenter and the content. So you see 4 choices. Both presenter and content were great. Presenter was great, content didn't work. Content was great, presenter didn't work, or neither the presenter nor the content worked. This is going to be anonymous, and we are going to keep this content secret from everybody. So we're not going to share it the way we shared the other polls. So you don't have to worry about, you know, people not giving an honest answer, being like, oh, I loved it, but everyone else hated it. Oh, well, I hate it too. Like, we're going to keep this relatively secret. So take a minute, close the poll. I guess I have to answer for myself. Otherwise, I can't see the end of the poll. And we thank you again for your time today. Thank you for agreeing to be a presenter at our conference. Thank you for all of your efforts and work in this very trying time for all of us. We hope that you are safe, that you stay healthy. We know you're all super busy with lots of other things, so we really appreciate your time today. And for those joining us on the recording, thank you for being a presenter at our conference. We hope to see you later this week and in the coming weeks. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Question. I raised my hand.
I didn't see it. Go ahead.
So although we're not seeing the poll that we just created, will the presenters see the poll at the end of their session? The results from the poll at the end of their session?
We can do that, but we will leave that to the presenter's choice. Like some presenters don't want to see the feedback that immediately. Like they're just like, whew, like they're all, you know, a tremble. So, Aaron, go
Timothy?
ahead. Yeah.
So we're going to compile the feedback similar to how we have compiled it in the past. So we will take all the information from all the polls, and then once the entire conference is over, so after April 10th, we will send out a poll with additional information or additional questions, and then once all that's compiled, we will send that information out to the presenters just like we have in the past.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody.